Last week, a high school student walked into my office, threw his acceptance letters on my desk, and said something that shattered every conventional wisdom about success. I got into every top university I applied to. But I'm turning them all down because I'm tired of explaining to everyone why my dreams matter. He wasn't complaining about the pressure. He wasn't explaining his decision. He was simply choosing to create his own path. Now, man understood something that most of us take decades to learn. Every minute spent complaining is a minute stolen from creating. Every hour spent explaining why you can't is an hour robbed from showing how you can. We're not just wasting time with our complaints and explanations. We're committing spiritual suicide. The taxi driver looked at me through his rearview mirror and said something that shattered my entire perspective on life. I've been driving this route for 20 years, and I've never heard a single passenger say thank you. I realized how a simple act of gratitude could transform not just one life, but create ripples across generations. You see, we're living in a world where complaining has become our native language and explaining away our failures has become our daily ritual. But tonight, we're going to break that cycle. Tonight, we're going to uncover why the most successful, impactful, and fulfilled people on this planet share two powerful traits. Think about the last time you complained. Maybe it was about the traffic this morning or the long line at the coffee shop, or perhaps about a colleague who didn't meet your expectations. Now let me ask you this. What did that complaint achieve? Did it make the traffic move faster? Did it make your coffee arrive sooner? Did it improve your relationship with your colleague? You see, complaining is like sitting in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't take you anywhere. Yet we've become so accustomed to this behavior that we don't even recognize it anymore. We've normalized the very thing that's keeping us stuck. Let me share something profound with you. Every morning, millions of people wake up and immediately check their phones, scrolling through social media, reading news that makes them angry, or responding to emails that stress them out. They start their day in a reactive state, responding to the world's demands instead of creating their own reality. And what's their first response? Complaints. I didn't get enough sleep. I have too many meetings today. But here's what's fascinating. In the same time, breathing the same air, there are people who wake up with a completely different mindset. They don't waste their precious morning energy on complaints. Instead, they invest it in creation. They don't explain why things aren't working. They explore how to make things work. The difference between these two groups isn't their circumstances, it's their response to those circumstances. One group has mastered the art of never complaining and never explaining, while the other remains trapped in the cycle of victimhood and justification. I know what some of you are thinking. But don't we need to explain ourselves sometimes? Don't we need to voice our concerns? There's a crucial distinction we need to make here. Expressing a concern with the intention of finding a solution is completely different from complaining. Explaining a situation to create understanding is different from making excuses. Consider, then you're truly focused on your purpose. When you're deeply connected to your why, you don't have time to complain. You're too busy creating, building. When you're living in your purpose, explanations become unnecessary because your actions speak louder than any words ever could. Let me take you deep into this truth. In every moment of your life, you have a choice. You can either be a thermometer or a thermostat. A thermometer merely reflects the temperature. It complains about the heat or the cold, but it does nothing to change it. A thermostat, on the other hand, sets the temperature. It doesn't waste energy explaining why the room is too hot or too cold. It simply adjusts and creates the desired environment. Which one are you? Are you constantly reading and reacting to your environment? Or are you setting the temperature of your life? Your power of never complaining and never explaining lies in its ability to redirect your energy. Every time you choose not to complain, you're actually choosing to create. Every time you resist the urge to explain away your failures, you're choosing to learn from them instead. Think about a garden for a moment. A garden doesn't complain about the weather. It doesn't explain why some of its flowers haven't bloomed yet. It simply grows in whatever conditions it finds itself in. The most beautiful gardens often emerge from the harshest environments, not because they complained about their circumstances, but because they adapted and found a way to thrive. That garden, your life is that garden. The question is, are you spending your energy complaining about the soil? This principle becomes even more powerful when we understand its impact on our relationships. When you stop complaining and explaining, something magical happens in your interactions with others. You begin to emanate a different kind of energy. People are naturally drawn to those who take responsibility for their lives without the need to justify their every move. Consider the impact of your words on those around you. Every complaint you voice plants a seed of negativity in the minds of those who hear it. Every explanation you give for why you couldn't achieve something plants a seed of doubt in the hearts of those who look up to you. But when you choose to never complain and never explain, you become a living example of what's possible. You show others that circumstances don't define us. Our response to them does. You demonstrate that success isn't about having perfect conditions. It's about perfect response to imperfect conditions. I want you to do something right now. Take a moment and think about the last 3 complaints you made. Really think about them. Now, imagine if you had taken the energy you spent on those complaints and invested it in finding solutions instead. How different would the outcome have been? This is where transformation begins. This is where we start to reshape our reality. Because the truth is, every time you open your mouth to complain, you're actually announcing to the universe that you're not ready for growth. Every time you explain away your failures, you're telling yourself that you're not capable of learning from them. Because path to extraordinary living is paved with responsibility, not excuses. It's built on actions, not explanations. And it's sustained by gratitude, not complaints. You think about water for a moment. When water encounters an obstacle, it doesn't complain about the rock in its path. It doesn't stop to explain why it can't move forward. It simply finds another way. And in doing so, it often creates something beautiful. A waterfall, a river bend. You have that same power within you. The power to flow, to adapt, to create new paths without the need for complaints or explanations. But to access this power, you must first make a decision. A decision to break free from the habit of complaining. A decision to step away from the need. This decision isn't just about personal growth. It's about legacy. Every time you choose not to complain, you're teaching those around you a powerful lesson about resilience. Every time you take action instead of making excuses, you're showing others what true leadership looks like. Remember the taxi driver I mentioned at the beginning. His story isn't just about gratitude. It's about the power of observation without complaints. For 20 years, he noticed something that could have made him bitter, that could have led him to complain endlessly about the lack of appreciation in the world. Instead, he simply observed, shared his observation, and in doing so, created an opportunity for change. That's the kind of power you hold within you. The power to observe without complaint. The power to act without explanation. The power to transform not just your own life, but the lives of countless others through your example. Let me share something powerful with you. Recently, I encountered a young entrepreneur who had lost everything in a failed business venture. When I met him, I expected to hear a litany of complaints about unfair market conditions, unreliable partners, or economic downturns. Instead, he looked me straight in the eye and said, I learned exactly what I needed to learn to succeed next time. That's what we're talking about. That's the power of never complaining and never explaining. This young man understood something that many people never grasp. Success leaves clues, but those clues are often hidden beneath the surface of our failures. You see, when you stop complaining about your circumstances, you start seeing them as classrooms. When you stop explaining away your failures, you start examining them for wisdom. This is where true transformation begins. Let's go deeper into this truth. Every morning, you have a choice. You can either wake up and reinforce your limitations with complaints, or you can wake up and explore your possibilities with questions. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? Instead of saying, I can't because. Say, how can I? Instead of explaining why something won't work, explore how it could work. A shift in mindset. This commitment to never complain and never explain creates a fundamental change in your nervous system. Your brain literally begins to rewire itself. Where it once saw obstacles, where it once generated excuses, it starts generating solutions. But let me be clear about something. This isn't about positive thinking. This isn't about ignoring reality. This is about transforming reality. When you stop complaining, you don't stop seeing problems, you start seeing them differently. You stop seeing them as barriers and start seeing them as bridges to your next level of growth. Think about this. Every great invention, every revolutionary innovation, every transformative discovery came from someone who refused to complain about the way things were and instead focused on the way things could be. They didn't waste time explaining why change was impossible. They invested their energy. The air conditioning that keeps you comfortable right now exists because someone refused to complain about the heat and instead asked, how can we control it? Indoor temperature. The smartphone in your pocket exists because someone refused to explain why communication had to be limited and instead asked, what if we could connect the world? Your life operates on the same principle. Every time you choose not to complain, you create space for creativity. Every time you refuse to explain away your circumstances, you open the door for transformation. But here's where many people get stuck. They say, I understand the principle, but how do I actually do this? How do I stop complaining when there's so much to complain about? How do I stop explaining when everyone demands explanations? The answer lies in understanding the difference between response and reaction. A reaction is automatic, unconscious, driven by habit. A response is chosen, conscious, driven by purpose. When you commit to never complaining and never explaining, you're not suppressing your reactions. You're elevating your responses. Let me give you a practical example. Suppose you're stuck in traffic. The reactive mind immediately starts complaining. This is terrible. I'm going to be late. It then prepares a list of explanations for why you're late. The traffic was horrible. There was an accident. The road work caused delays. But the responsive mind, the mind that has committed to never complaining and never explaining, approaches the situation differently. Instead of wasting energy on complaints, it asks, how can I use this time productively? What can I learn right now? How can I plan my day better tomorrow? This is the essence of personal power. It's not about controlling circumstances. It's about controlling your response to circumstance. It's not about having no problems. It's about having no complaints about your problems. It's about water again. When water meets resistance, it doesn't stop flowing. It doesn't complain about the obstacle. It doesn't explain why it can't move forward. It simply finds another way. And in finding another way, it often creates something more beautiful. You are like that water. The obstacles in your path are not there to stop you. They're there to direct you. But you can only see this truth when you stop complaining about the obstacles, and stop explaining why you can't overcome them. This principle becomes even more powerful when we apply it to relationships. When you stop complaining about people, you start connecting with them. When you stop explaining yourself to people, you start expressing yourself through actions. Have you ever noticed that the people who complain the most accomplish the least? Have you ever noticed that those who spend the most time explaining their failures really have time to celebrate their successes? This is because complaining and explaining are energy drains. They're like holes in your bucket of potential. Every complaint is a leak of creative energy. Every explanation is a leak of productive time. But when you see these holes, when you commit to never complaining and never explaining, something remarkable happens. Your energy stays contained. Your focus remains intact. This accumulation of power, this conservation of energy, creates a force field around you. People start noticing something different about you. They can't quite put their finger on it, but they sense a shift. You become magnetic. Your presence becomes powerful. Why? Because you're no longer dispersing your energy through complaints. You're no longer diluting your power through explanations. You're channeling everything into creation, into action, into transformation. This is what true leadership looks like. Leadership isn't about having no challenges. It's about having no complaints about your challenges. It's not about having no mistakes. It's about having no need to explain your mistakes because you're too busy learning from them. Because the world is hungry for this kind of leadership. It's hungry for people who refuse to join the chorus of complaints. It's hungry for people who let their actions speak louder than their explanations. You have been called to be such a leader. Not just in your business or your career, but in your life. You are being called to demonstrate what's possible. When someone refuses to waste energy on complaints and explanations. This call isn't just about personal success. It's about global transformation. Because when you stop complaining about what's wrong in the world and start creating what's right, you become a force for change. When you stop explaining why things can't be different and start demonstrating how they can be different, you become a catalyst for transformation. There's a story that perfectly captures the essence of what we're discussing here. A master craftsman was training a young apprentice in the art of woodworking. The apprentice, eager to prove himself, rushed through his first project and produced a piece full of flaws. Instead of complaining about the mistakes or explaining why they happened, the master simply handed the apprentice another piece of wood and said, "This time, let the wood teach you." That's the essence of never complaining and never explaining. It's about letting life teach you. It's about understanding that every situation, every challenge, every setback is not a cause for complaint, but a catalyst for growth. You see, most people live their lives in one of two states. They're either complaining about where they are or explaining why they can't get to where they want to be. But there's a third state, a state of pure potential, where you're too busy creating to complain and too focused on progress to explain. What's your life look like if you spent all the energy you currently spend on complaints and explanations on creation instead? What could you build? What could you achieve? What could you transform? The average person complains about 15 to 30 times per day. That's 15 to 30 moments where they could have been creating, innovating, or transforming. That's 15 to 30 opportunities for growth that were converted into excuses for stagnation. Here's what's fascinating about human potential. When you make the conscious decision to never complain and never explain, those 15 to 30 moments don't just disappear. They transform. They become windows of opportunity, moments of clarity, instances of creation. Think about this deeply. Every time you feel the urge to complain, it's actually life pointing you toward an opportunity for innovation. Every time you feel the need to explain away a failure, it's actually life offering you a lesson in growth. The problem isn't that we face challenges. The problem is that we've been programmed to respond to challenges with complaints and explanations rather than with curiosity and action. Let me share something powerful with you. Success leaves clues, but those clues are often hidden in the very situations we complain about most. The traffic jam you complain about might be showing you the need to better manage your time. The difficult colleague you complain about might be teaching you patience and understanding. The business setback you keep explaining away might be revealing a crucial flaw in your strategy. But you can only see these clues. You can only receive these teachings when you stop clouding your vision with complaints and explanations. This is where true mastery begins. This is where transformation takes root. When you make the conscious decision to never complain and never explain, you're not just changing your behavior, you're changing your destiny. Here's the truth. Every complaint is a confession of powerlessness. Every explanation is a declaration of defensiveness. But when you choose to neither complain nor explain, you step into your power. You declare your sovereignty over your circumstances. Think about the most respected leaders you know. Think about the most successful individuals in any field. What sets them apart isn't that they have no problems. It's that they have no complaints about their problems. It's not that they never fail. It's that they never waste time explaining their failures because they're too busy learning from them. This is the path of the master. This is the way of the transformer. This is the journey of the creator. But let me be very clear about something. This journey isn't about suppressing your emotions or denying reality. It's about channeling your emotions into creation and transforming reality. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about pursuing excellence regardless of circumstances. When you commit to never complaining and never explaining, you're not ignoring problems. You're approaching them differently. You're not avoiding responsibility. You're embracing it fully. Every considers. Every great achievement in human history came from someone who refused to complain about the way things were and instead focused on the way things could be. Every breakthrough, every innovation, every transformation started with someone who chose creation over complaint. Action over explanation. This one exists because someone refused to complain about the limitations of distance communication. The airplane exists because someone refused to explain why humans couldn't fly. The computer you're using exists because someone refused to accept the limitations of manual calculation. Your life operates on the same principle. Every complaint you convert into a question opens a door to possibility. Every explanation you transform into action builds a bridge to your dreams. But this transformation requires more than just understanding. It requires practice. It requires a new way of thinking. A new way of speaking. Talk with your morning. When you wake up, instead of complaining about how tired you are, ask yourself, how can I create more energy today? Instead of explaining why you didn't accomplish yesterday's goals, take this practice into your relationships. Instead of complaining about what others aren't doing, focus on what you can do. Instead of explaining why things aren't working, explore how they could work better. Apply this principle to your work. Instead of complaining about challenges, see them as opportunities for innovation. Instead of explaining why goals weren't met, focus on how they can be exceeded next time. This is how you build momentum. This is how you create transformation. This is how you step into your power. Every time you choose not to complain, you choose to create. Every time you refuse to explain, you commit to action. Every time you transform a complaint into a question, you open a door to possibility. Every time you convert an explanation into an experiment, you discover a new path to grow. This is the alchemy of personal power. This is the science of transformation. You see, the universe doesn't respond to complaints. It responds to creation. It doesn't acknowledge explanations. It acknowledges actions. When you align yourself with these principles, when you commit to never complaining and never explaining, you align yourself with the creative force of the universe itself. The mother eagle doesn't explain to her eaglets why they must leave the nest. She doesn't complain about the height of the cliff or the strength of the wind. She simply creates the conditions for their growth by gradually removing the comfort of the nest. This is nature's wisdom teaching us about transformation. When you stop complaining about your comfort zone and stop explaining why you can't leave it, you create space for growth that defies imagination. Transformation begins with a single decision: to take complete ownership of your life. No complaints about circumstances. No explanations for delays. Just pure, focused action toward your goals. Think about the last excuse you made. Now imagine if you had used that same energy to find the solution instead. Think about your last complaint. Now imagine if you had transformed that complaint into a question that could lead to innovation. This is the path of the creator. The path of the transformer. It's not about having no challenges. It's about having no complaints about your challenges. It's not about having no failures. It's about having no need to explain your failures because you're too busy learning from them. When you embrace this truth, something remarkable happens. The very situations that once triggered complaints become catalysts for growth. The very failures that demanded explanations become foundations for success. Start small. Begin with one day, just one day, of no complaints and no explanations. Notice how much more energy you have. Notice how much clearer your thinking becomes. Notice how many more solutions you discover. Then extend it to 2 days, then a week, then a month. Watch as your life transforms, not because your circumstances have changed, but because you have changed your response to those circumstances. Every time you're tempted to complain, ask instead, what can I create from this? Every time you're about to explain why something didn't work, ask instead, this is your moment. This is your time. This is your opportunity to step into a new way of being. No complaints, no explanations, just pure focused creation. Your world doesn't need your complaints. It needs your contributions. It doesn't need your explanations. It needs your actions. Rise up, step forward, create the life you were born to live. Because in the end, it's not about the challenges you faced. It's about the choices you made. It's not about the obstacles in your path. It's about the path you chose to create. And choose now. Choose creation over complaint. Choose action over explanation. Choose transformation over justification. Your destiny awaits. Standing at the edge of the ocean, watching waves crash against rocks, you'll never hear the water complain about the obstacles in its path. You'll never hear it explain why it can't reach the shore. It simply flows, adapts, and continues this journey. You have that same power within you. The power to flow past obstacles without complaint. The power to adapt without explanation. The power to transform every challenge into an opportunity for growth. Look around this room. Every person here has a choice to make. Will you continue the cycle of complaint and explanation that keeps you bound to your current reality? Or will you step into the freedom that comes from taking complete ownership of your life? The truth is, you don't need better circumstances to succeed. You need better responses to your current circumstances. You don't need more explanations for where you are. You need more actions toward where you want to be. Your life is speaking to you through every situation you face, through every challenge that rises before you, through every obstacle that appears in your path. But you can only hear its wisdom when you stop filling the silence with complaints and explanations. Small word, make this commitment to yourself. No more complaints about what is. Only questions about what could be. No more explanations about what hasn't worked. Only experiments about what might work. Every great achievement began with someone who refused to complain about the way things were and focused instead on the way things could be. Every breakthrough came from someone who's too busy creating to explain why something couldn't be done. You are that someone. You are that creator. You are that transformer. The power has always been within you. The potential has always been present. The possibility has always been waiting. But it can only emerge when you stop diluting it with complaints and explanations. So rise up, step forward. Create the life you were born to live. Not through complaints about what's missing, but through creation of what's possible. Not through explanations of what went wrong, but through actions that make things right. Your destiny is not determined by the cards you were dealt, but by how you play them. Your future is not shaped by the circumstances you face, but by how you respond to them. Choose now. Choose wisely. Choose to never complain and never explain. Choose to create. Because in the end, life's greatest question won't be about what happened to you. It will be about what you did with what happened to you. Also will be created. You transformed. You became unstoppable. That is your legacy. That is your power. That is your truth. Now go forth and live it.